Right, you know what? Stay away from accumulators on cards like this. I've had an absolute mare on this card, and I'll put it up on the screen. But first of all, I want to talk about the Rose Namajunas fight against Amanda Ribas. I know a lot of you don't want to hear about it, so I'm just going to make it quick. Rose Namajunas, please can we never have another main event of her again? Honestly, that performance was very below par, and I believe she needs to go back to Trevor Whitman, because Pat Barry, I know they're dating and all that, and you know about how it came about back in the day. I don't need to go into detail. You can find out the information because you probably know about it. That's irrelevant. But this performance, it was just so like passive and staying on the back foot, looking to counter-strike. And I know we've seen her counter-strike a lot in the past, but at flyweight, I want to see her be more aggressive against fighters like Ribas. But at the end of the day now, I'm just establishing the fact that maybe Rose Namajunas' striking is not that good anymore. She's not even that old, so she's just declined as she's gotten older. Like some people, even if they're young, if they peak early, they can also have a dip early. It happens in football. I know a lot of you probably don't watch football here, but it happens. And also, Ribas, you could argue, won that fight. I don't think she did. But there is the argument for it, because you did see her look like she was more aggressive in the fight. She was getting those headlock takedowns. We saw, what's his name, Dricus du Plessis do them on Robert Whittaker and get her down. But then we'd eventually see Rose Namajunas be able to escape that position and get into mount. But she wasn't really doing anything powerful. Like, the more damaging strikes did come from Ribas. But at the end of the day, I said I'd make it quick. I know you're probably not interested in that fight. It was a snooze fest. It was not good. And hopefully the next main event's going to be half decent, because, yeah, it's not amazing, but it's a decent fight for WMMA. So anyways. Right, Karl Williams versus Justin Tafa. That fight there just... I felt like I was going to lose hair watching that, because I needed Justin Tafa to win. No, I didn't put anything on it, but I wanted him to win. I'm hearing people say that Justin Tafa should have won the fight on damage. I can see what you're talking about in terms of damage, because in the first round, you did see him land like that heavy knee. He was like throwing hooks, and he was causing Karl Williams to back up. But I think it wasn't like complete domination on the feet, because you was noticing that Karl Williams, he kind of has like very fast hands, and he was holding his own on the feet until he was getting backed up against the cage. And then when he goes in for the takedown as well, I know on the ground it looks like he's doing nothing, which it kind of is. But then he throws like these small punches, which is why the referee isn't going to stand them up. Therefore, because of the groundwork mixed in with the striking on the feet, although he didn't look better on the feet, because of the additional takedown, with the small damage that he did on the ground, accumulated with the striking on the feet that he did with the fast hands, even though he took that shot to the body, and he took that knee to the head, and he got him down in that first round for me. And I know you're going to want to say Justin Tafa did, and I did at the time. But watching it back now, I've actually changed my mind, and I'm like, no. Unfortunately, Karl Williams won that fight. And we know that Justin Tafa's more exciting, but I'm getting to the point where these big heavyweights, the Tai Tuivasa builds, they're going to go extinct in terms of you cannot do that style anymore unless you have got very good takedown defense. And them two, they don't really. But I blame Justin Tafa's defense in this fight for using low IQ moves. Like, it was making me stressed. Like, the second round, you know he's trying to take you down. Why would you throw a kick? If you throw a kick when a guy's trying to take you down, you're going to be off balance because you're on one leg, and this guy's trying to get close to you. So he loses his balance, goes down. You've given away the round, because once Karl Williams gets you down, he's one of those guys where he has got very good control on the ground. Justin Tafa's a really big guy. The bigger you are, you're going to have to use so much more energy to get up because you're so big. Like, I need to show you this article here. Like, when I saw this, I'm like, why did I even pick Tafa? Aussie UFC star Justin Tafa says he pulled out of a fight due to a problem with an armrest and two old ladies. When I saw this, like, whoever linked this to me, please just let me know, because I saw this and I was like, no way am I picking this guy to win? And I did. I really don't know. And I know that's off topic, but it's the fact that his striking is great, but at heavyweight now, the days of just being a striker are officially over. We know that now. Like, You've got your Tom Aspinall, Shelton Almeidas, Curtis Blades when he uses the wrestling. You've got your Carl Williams coming up now. You're getting these guys, and that's why I think Robles de Spanier, that 6'7" Cuban guy with the long reach, he's going to struggle at the highest levels because he won't be able to stop takedowns of guys like that. I'm not sure of that yet. We'll have to see, but I think the UFC are strategically giving him like striking matchups where they know his opponent's going to try and strike with him. But nonetheless, Justin Tafa for me, it was a winnable fight. If he had just used more uppercuts instead of like throwing wide hooks, because you'll notice in that fight, he was looking to like knock him out with a hook because he was going in for a takedown. But if a guy's going in for a takedown, the more you try and swing wide for a hook, you're going to open up your body for them to be able to come close and get a body lock and look to take you down. And Carl Williams was able to do that. Take advantage of the overswing, bring him down, fight's over. And yeah, he outlanded him in the third round, so I gave him the third round, but that's it. Round 2 was complete domination on the ground. There was no significant heavy damage, but it was just like he got bullied on the ground. He couldn't have won the round. The first round, I do see where you're coming from with that early start. But if Carl Williams wasn't landing anything at all in the feet on the first round, I'd be like, I would swing it into Tafa's favour more. But because he did, and the takedown, I gave him that round. But the third round for me, like 30-27, is an abomination because in that third round, he looked like he was in trouble. He was kind of like begging for that takedown, Carl Williams, because he was taking like a beating. But because, again, not using uppercuts, eventually he's able to get the takedown off your overswing. And it was just unfortunate because it's so winnable, that fight for him. Like, Carl Williams isn't going to submit you. He's going to hold you down and try and look to land ground and pound. And you should try and build your way back up to the feet. But unfortunately, he couldn't. And for me, Carl Williams won that fight. And in better news, Edmen Shahbazyan against AJ Dobson. Edmen Shahbazyan looks like... It's kind of weird with him because he seems like he's young, but his striking is kind of digressed. Even though he won against AJ Dobson, because he started off slow. And usually with him, I don't think he's meant to be a slow starter. I think he can start off quite well. You see him get some early knockouts back in the day. But his issue is he can be taken down. He hasn't got amazing takedown defense, pretty much what I just said. Also, he can tend to be a bit slow, even though he's got good karate. Like, if you look at the punches he landed on Dobson, when I watched that fight back, it looks like they weren't even that hard. But I believe he hit him in the perfect place, like on the corner of the chin. And even then, that didn't look like it should be dropping him. Maybe AJ Dobson's just got a weak chin and hasn't been tested yet, and hasn't been touched in that position yet, because I've seen him take some harder shots by guys like Tafanan Chekwiki, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Armin Petrosyan. And Edmen Shahbazyan can hit hard, but it's like the way it kind of like wailed onto the chin, and it didn't land like completely clean with the knuckles turned onto the chin. I don't know, that's just my opinion on it. But for Edmen Shahbazyan, it's good because he's an exciting fighter. But for Edmen Shahbazyan, it's good because he's an exciting fighter to watch. But he kind of did scare me earlier on because he looked like he was going to get knocked out at one point. But I believe AJ Dobson became a bit confident, a bit like what Curtis Blades does, where he'll hurt someone and he won't look to grapple. He'll just keep striking because he's confident in it. And AJ Dobson did that. And when Edmen Shahbazyan initiated the takedowns, we did see AJ Dobson reverse it and get on top of him. But then when they get back up to the feet, he continues to grow in his striking confidence. And then Edmen Shahbazyan, like he should be doing in this fight, is able to KO him with that shot to the chin, like that left hook. Right, so moving on to the one I wanted to talk about the most realistically. Payton Talbott against Cameron Saaiman. Oh my god. Watching that fight was just watching like someone get beaten. Like, I know, well, obviously you're probably going to say, but I'm talking about the way he got beat there. The fact that he wasn't able to actually cleanly shut out his lights is what shocked me, because Payton Talbott hits people so hard and he just comes straight forward, walking you down. He will eat whatever punch you take. He, to me, looks like a guy who's way too big for that weight class. Like, the power he has is something that you would see from like a lightweight. You don't get that type of power at bantamweight. It's rare that you have fighters who can do that. And Cameron Saaiman is a very technical type of fighter. Realistically, his corner should have thrown in the towel. Because after that knee, he's literally being pushed down to the ground. Like Payton Talbott's not even really using takedowns. They were like sweeps and just pushing him using like pure strength and his weight to bully him. Cameron Saaiman looks like a guy who, yeah, he's a bantamweight. Could he cut down to flyweight and also have some good success there? I believe so, because bantamweight's a very competitive division. And he's not done at bantamweight, but I'm saying if you wanted an easier type of career, I know cutting weight would be hard and doing all that type of stuff, but flyweight, maybe he would prefer that. Also, you look at that fight with Christian Rodriguez against Cameron Saaiman. After comparing both of them fights, I think the next fight for Payton Talbott you've got to give him is a Christian Rodriguez, because although I believe he shouldn't have beaten Isaac Dulgarian, he has shown that he's extremely hard to finish. You can literally pull him down to the ground, drag him, use ground and pound, try and get a rear naked choke and still not finish him. I think the only guy who's got the potential of doing it out of the three I've just mentioned there, I know he just fought Cameron Saaiman, not just fought him, but he's fought him, is Payton Talbott, because Payton Talbott, like I've mentioned before, a lot of straight punches, not a load of hooks, straight, clean punches and crosses. But it's nothing like special and like spectacular. He doesn't do a lot of flair. He does basic strikes that just work, and he lands them with good accuracy as well. And not only that, he can mix up body shots. So if you think you can just go out there and not have to worry about your cardio, no, you have to worry about your cardio and the damage that you're going to take. Like your brain will shut off because of the power of this guy. And you might think I'm going on and on about him, but this guy has got contender potential. I know his debut looked a bit suspect, because if you look back at his debut against Nick Aguirre, he got taken down and he was getting controlled quite heavily. But if you look at how many takedowns he actually prevented, I think his takedown defense is quite good, because Nick Aguirre can grapple. He's quite like strong. To hold down a guy like that who's bigger than you is a hard task to do. Cameron Saaiman couldn't do it because he's too small. Like that fight there on paper was a complete mismatch, and if you put something on that, that was probably one of the easiest amounts of money you could probably make, because of how easy Payton Talbott made it look. Like Cameron Saaiman was trying everything, these spinning kicks to the body to push him out of range, but because he's so strong and he's very durable, if you do that to him, he's going to come forward, eat one of yours and land a strike on you. And that knee as well, it was like Sean O'Malley against Marlon Vera, walking into the knee, bang, eats it, goes down, he pushes him off him, and he comes back forward. Right, Youssef Zalal against Billy Quarantillo. We're going into the fights you might not be interested in, but anyways. Billy Quarantillo, I honestly thought he could win this fight. I don't know why on paper. Youssef Zalal's got the jiu-jitsu over him. He is probably stronger than him. Billy Quarantillo is very unorthodox with his strike, and he kind of like throws a lot of jabs, but dips his head down low, which makes him prone to eating these knees. And Youssef Zalal obviously learned off Edson Barbosa. All he does, dip his head down low and pressure you with the jab, and then look to lunge in with like crosses. A bit like how Darius throws the cross, where he kind of like overarches and then throws the cross for an overhand or something like that. Billy Quarantillo does it as well, but he's really like, what's the word, herky-jerky, whatever it's called, where he's just really loose and unorthodox. So he's very easy to hit when he throws these strikes. He's very easy to counter if you're a Muay Thai type of fighter. And he didn't even have to knock him out. That's the funny thing about the fight. It was actually the ground game, and Billy Quarantillo, again, another guy who gives away his back quite a lot. And Youssef Zalal was able to take advantage of that. He got released from the UFC, comes back, and now he looks like he's going to be a good fighter, because Billy Quarantillo, you don't just bully him like that in fights because of his pressure. It's actually hard to bully, but you can beat him. And he fought Ilia Topuria as well, so yeah, good win. Because honestly, Fernando Padilla, look at how he made easy work of Julian Erosa. His striking is quite good. The only thing I would worry about with him is head movement. And not only head movement, he can also take you down. Like Luis Pajuelo, at the end of the day, is probably just a striker, and that's all. And the matchups that he's going to like are striker only. But that being said, we didn't get to see him long enough in the cage. And he was on the Contender series, but looking at the Contender Series opponents, they're not UFC fighters they're fighting. They're fighting a guy who wants to make it to the UFC as well. And in that fight in the Contender Series, he got taken down. It was only once, and from what I can see from him is he has got power. Don't get me wrong. That opponent was a hard opponent to give him already. He needs to fight like a much lower down, like even give him... I know this might sound like dumb in your opinion, but a Rolando Bedoya would be an interesting fight for him. Because Rolando Bedoya, I know you're going to say he beat Karl, what was his name, Chaos Williams, but he doesn't move his head a lot. He likes to strike a lot. Pajuelo likes to strike. There won't be that much grappling in it. He will look to try and knock him out, and that would be an interesting fight because he can take a punch, and he don't move his head, and he can also throw a punch as well. So, and also elbow. Trey Ogden to me is just one of those fighters who goes underneath the radar a little bit. He will never become a champion at this point. He's a bit too old. He's more into coaching, but he's just going to be one of those guys that, like, he's not a gatekeeper yet. He's not in the top 15, but he's someone who can make a fight very hard for someone. And I believe in his last fight, we all know he should have won that, just out-grappled him. And it was the fact that he was able to just hold down Kurt Holobaugh. Kurt Holobaugh was very good off his back. Look what he did on the Ultimate Fighter finale. And he was in the UFC before. And they're both quite old. But it's the jab of Trey Ogden, which is quite good. And to be fair with him, he isn't anything special with his striking. It's very basic again. But he keeps his back in the cage. And there was moments in that fight. Even the commentary team, I agree. Not they. I'm not into all of that type of stuff. Kurt Holobaugh, he could have just looked to throw more, but he was a bit too hesitant, and then by the time he's gone to throw, he's been taken down. So if he looked to work the uppercuts or work the body when he was against the cage, he could have actually looked to do something on him, because Trey Ogden, when he was looking at striking, kind of looked scared on the feet, which is why he probably looked to take him down, because he knows Kurt Holobaugh probably could have shut off his lights if he just stayed there and striked with him and kept his back in the cage. There was openings for it to happen, but he obviously didn't. And Trey Ogden was just a superior grappler to him, and he couldn't get up. We question some honest fighters, like Ricardo Ramos versus Julian Erosa. That fight there just confused me. Ricardo Ramos, he has got potential, but he just bottles fights by just poor decision making. You fight Charles Jourdain. Why are you grappling? You know that guy's got a good guillotine on him. Why don't you just stand there and strike and use those kicks and spinning elbows like you like to do? Maybe not too many spinning elbows, because if you do too many spinning elbows against a guy with jiu-jitsu, he'll take your back. But look to use your elbows and look to strike. But you don't have to do loads of spinning stuff. And he could have beaten him. Like, he dropped Julian Erosa early. That's what I don't get. Right, you're in a fight. If you drop someone, and yes, you like to grapple, but you're a striker deep down, why are you taking them down? Okay, take him down if he's not a good jiu-jitsu guy who's got no jiu-jitsu threat and is a dangerous striking threat. Fair enough. But Julian Erosa is not a striking threat to Ricardo Ramos. He's a jiu-jitsu threat. So what does Ricardo Ramos do? Using low fight IQ, and this is why I tell people, do not bet on people like this who are on the prelims, because you don't know how they're thinking. You would think, oh, Ricardo Ramos has dropped Julian Erosa. Really? You should let him back up, drop him again, get the knockout finish. Fernando Padilla did it to him with the elbows. So I really don't get why Ricardo Ramos is out there trying to grapple with a guy. Look what happened the last time he did that. He got guillotined. Julian Erosa did the same thing. He gets struck. Like, even the commentary team was saying he's got a kid, he's not really fully prepared for camp. He says he is, but he probably isn't, because he's got all those other responsibilities to do. And then you've got Ricardo Ramos, who is probably trained completely, no excuses, and goes out there, drops him, good start, and thinks, you know what, let me just try and take him down and mess about on the ground. Like, there's no need to do it, but I feel a bit confident today. I'm going to take him down. Ends up getting submitted. Like, I don't need to say anything else, that's it. God knows why I've picked Cody Gibson to beat Miles Johns. The reason I thought he would be able to, he's got a good height and reach, and his striking usually looks quite good. Like, his head movement in that fight actually looked quite decent earlier on. He was level changing, missing the strikes of Miles John. Miles John's shorter, so he's going to have to close the distance. And you've got Cody Gibson going out there grappling and failing, using a lot of strength, and Miles John's able to get on top of him. Like, when you take the back of Miles John and you're a big guy, it should be so easy to just maintain that control and pretty much look for the choke. Like, Cody Gibson isn't just no pushover until it gets to the third round, which is why I was like, it was a risky pick. I thought if he could maybe get it done early, maybe. But then again, it's hard to finish a guy like Miles Johns. So I was like, I don't really know what to do with this pick, because Miles John, he's known for slowing down as well. They both slow down. But the difference is Miles Johns is better at pushing through adversity when he's tired compared to Cody Gibson, who when he's tired, he's kind of out of it. Like in this fight, he was kind of like running away at points. He looked like he was going to get finished. He looked like he got dropped in the first round. It was an off-balance thing, but he just rushes into range of a knee, dropped by a jab. And then third round, Miles Johns is able to just deal with him due to him being exhausted. And maybe Cody Gibson really isn't that good at all. Like, I just can't trust him anymore. Jarno Errens against Stephen and Nugent. Stephen and Nugent just has not learned. Started off quite well, like the first 30 seconds to a minute. And then in the Contender series, he lost. Comes back, does it again. Wins. Bottles his chance when it comes to the UFC. And I think Stephen and Nugent, he's just quite static. Not enough head movement. Jarno Errens was just light on the feet. He was able to circle around him and pretty much look to kick, box, move around. A lot of footwork. And he looked like he was just trying to win a decision, to be fair. Like, I know he dropped him, but you'll see in the third round, you've got Stephen and Nugent finally trying to put the pressure on him. But because the fight was almost over, Jarno's like, I'm not going to try and take any more damage, so let me stay on the outside and just coast my way to the win. I know I've won the first 2 rounds comfortably. Yeah, I got hit a bit in the second. And maybe you could argue Stephen and Nugent won the second round. I don't think he did. I think 30-27, honestly. Like, he got beaten up badly. He has moments, but that's about it. And then, yeah, Jarno Errens isn't even that good. Like, you look at the opponents he's fought, fair enough, they're good. But from what I've seen from him, he doesn't look that great. Like, Sung Woo Choi is not amazing. His striking's alright, but it's not good or elite by any means. And he couldn't compete with him. And I just think Stephen and Nugent, it's just not that good either. He's just one of those fighters where he's there to make up a number. Same with Jarno Errens, but he won that fight, so not really much to say about him. And then we had the biting incident. Honestly, one of the most strangest things I have ever seen. 20 years of age, and he throws it all away in a fight where it's competitive. Okay, you're down 1 round. You're getting hit with those like forward elbows that were coming up, creating like a golf ball on your head. But why the hell? I don't get it. Like, you are at the point where you have got some potential. Like, this was a high IQ fight. This was a high pace fight. Why, when you have got the back in a position where you could look to try and take him down, are you biting? It's the dumbest low fight IQ. Like, this is why I say, be careful about... I know I didn't pick him, but be careful with who you pick, because you're putting a bet on this guy who not really known apart from the Contender series. Like, we don't know what he's going to perform like in the UFC. Blows the fight by a bite. Like, when do you see that? So Luis Suarez type of vibes, and if you know who he is, you know. Ivanovic back in the day. You probably don't, but if you do know. Biting, I just don't get why you need to bite from that position. Rear naked choke, try and bring him down. Maybe it was frustration, but he's not a baby. It's not like he's 5 years of age or anything. He's a fully grown, well, not fully grown, but he's an adult. Why are you biting? There were so many other things he could have done but bite in that position. And to rub it in, like, imagine you're this Igor guy, and then you see the guy get the tattoo of that, just rubbing it in, like, that money that he got paid, he's probably going to get his appearance fee. Maybe. I don't know how the disqualification rules work in terms of if you do something like that, because they're probably going to do some, like, different type of thing. For example, we know he's been removed from the UFC, which is disappointing, but I don't have a say in that. But then again, this is where I want to talk about the hypocrisy. You have this guy who does this. If you're going to cut him, you've got to cut Nurilo Aliyev. I don't know how to pronounce it. The guy who bit Rafael Alves. Like, if you're biting someone there, you can't have a double standard. You need to follow through with that as well. Like, you let him off, And I think we know why. He's got a bias towards certain fighters. So he is very lucky to be in the UFC. And I would argue that this Igor guy looks way more exciting than that Aliyev guy anyway. Like, he's a grappler, but he had to do it. Probably because if he doesn't cut that guy for biting, I know he should have done it for the other guy, but I don't think it got as much as a reaction compared to this one. Because it didn't end the fight after the bite. This ended the fight, which is why it's causing this massive reaction. So, yeah, low IQ decision. Screwed himself over before even having one fight in the UFC. He's going to be banned for a long time now, so he's probably going to have to get another job and then come back to it if a promotion accepts him, which they will. And it'll be a long way back for the UFC if he ever will get brought back. God knows at this point, but he's gone. Right, Mohammed Usman versus Mick Parkin. I do think Mick Parkin won that fight. Mohammed Usman, one thing that he does is too much jumping into strikes. I know you might disagree, but a lot of the shots that he was throwing, apart from the first round where he rocked him kind of, they were like hitting the gloves and hitting air. He does what Usman does by like dipping his head down low and then generating like power from that level change. But it's not like a proper level change where you keep your guard tight or you keep your body central and go down. He kind of like tilts himself so he's in a, I'm trying to think, is it perpendicular or parallel? Probably perpendicular, like type of position. No, a parallel position with the floor. No, perpendicular, sorry about that. And just explodes upwards. And because of that, so readable. And Mick Parkin's able to read it and just chop up the legs. Mohammed Usman's looking to work the body as well. But I think because of the first round, okay, you can say he won it, but round two, you'll notice that Mick Parkin's actually outlanding him. He outlands him. He hits him with this right cross because as soon as they lower their head, fire off that right cross. He did it. Circle out, move, leg kick. Hits him with the leg kick, snapping the leg about. And Mohammed Usman at times would have to change to the stance because it's probably hurting his leg. So for me, Mohammed Usman's not too big. Like Mick Parkin looks way bigger than him. So if you give him Mohammed Usman that fight, I can't agree with you. I honestly can't. Like the aggression and pace was there, but he's not landing. Like if a guy's just running, look at Juliana Pena. She was so aggressive against Amanda Nunes, but she didn't win the fight because she kept getting dropped. And I know Mick Parkin weren't dropping him, but it was a situation where Mohammed Usman was charging at him like he was a bull or something and was just getting countered by the right cross. I know Mick Parkin probably should have lost his last fight, but I believe he should have won this. And to be fair, I thought the judges might have given it to Usman. But Mick Parkin's probably happy right now because he's had two fights which are controversial. But for me, he won that fight. So, yeah, that was the card for me. Yeah, there was that woman fight of Masura Rendon, but that was just low quality and just ruined the hype of the card. Well, there was no hype, but ruined the pace of the card, really. It was just a boring bore fest like the main event. But anyways, the card was quite good apart from them two WMMA fights. But yeah, thank you for watching. Talk to you soon.